I want to make a video about being alone and not being alone. Do you notice that there's online conversations about healing and therapy and feelings, just depression or living with a certain amount of despair? And when you share this level of stress, or it could be in your relationship, a partner relationship, family relationship, this ongoing chronic sense of some tension. You're experiencing this push pull tension in your relationship that doesn't resolve. And your attachment system, your nervous system is in a state of being triggered and dysregulated. And perhaps often what comes back to you, especially if you're seeking out resource or education or you're watching a video like this one, and what you get back, as if it's an intervention, it's a how-to step, it's a solution, is the phrase, "You're not alone." This is a kind of cognitive dissonance and confusing. And depending on the degree of conviction in which the other person keeps saying, almost like they're hammering it into our head, "You're not alone. You're depressed, but you're not alone. You really don't feel like you can hang on any longer." Well, it's okay. You're not alone. And even using the word lonely, I mean, I'm really lonely. I'm experiencing this almost pathological loneliness. And then the response is the cliche, the platitude, it's very empty. It's this empty, "Well, you're not alone. Just please know you're not alone." This is crazy to me. This doesn't make sense because you are. I am. We are. Do you know that experience of 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning, you can't sleep, you're staring at the ceiling, you then get up and you just like look out the window, and let's, for the sake of a little bit of drama in the story, it's raining out. Those moments are frightening. There's no savior. There's no universal great parent that shows up to offer comfort. There's this very unsettled, "I cannot be in my skin right now." And we know this is the origin, this is the crossroads, this is the entry point, this is the gateway to addiction, to numbing out, to distraction, all different forms of ways. How do I move away from being me right now, because the me I'm experiencing is not a me that I want to be? And it centers around, I'm fundamentally alone. Now think in terms of like existence, existential aloneness, that there's a fundamental truth that even no matter how many people you're in relationship with, or who you surround yourself with, or what other forms of connection and community and relationship that you have, you still have your relationship with yourself. Now, a number of people slash a number of us, you might know the experience of, you're so disconnected from yourself, you're only externally referent, you're focusing on what's going on out here, and there's a lot of obstacle and ways in which we deflect and make sure that we don't go inward. And for a number of us, to go inward is very scary and we bump up against, we discover, when I go inward, I can feel the expansive emptiness of just how alone I really am. I've often thought of an incredible a $1 million marketing campaign. You could sell anything, and it goes something like this idea of like, well, you sometimes have connection, you sometimes feel a sense of life's going in your way, you sometimes are feeling a little okay about your choices. But underneath that, there's this ongoing hum. There's something that you keep from others that you're not really fully aware of yourself, or you certainly don't admit it to yourself. And it's this ongoing chronic emptiness, this unsettled feeling. And no matter what you do, you can't fill up that void of what's missing. And in that place of what's missing, that emptiness, that's a very hot place. It's a very tortured place. It is the seat of despair. It is the seat of confusion. It is the place of our suffering. And then we say, well, can you sit in that place? Can you get to know yourself there? Can you go inward? And the answer is no, I'm not. Why would I do that? It's painful. There's do you know the film Lost in Translation? It's with Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson. And there's this moment, it's somewhat of a quiet moment. It's Scarlett Johansson's character, and the title of the film being Lost in Translation, it's existentially, these are two people that are very lost in different ways, and they come together. There's this intersection of their own existential despair, this angst of what it means to be human, to not really know who you are, to be confused about your identity and your sense of self. And in this scene, Scarlett Johansson, I think she's calling her sister, if I remember correctly, and she's very emotional. She's feeling conflicted, and she really, really wants to reach out. And for sake of this video, like the phrase "you're not alone," she really wants to find a connection with her sister so she doesn't feel alone. And she starts to share her emotions and it's almost like philosophical, like she's a bit, she wants to try to share something from the heart. And her sister's busy. Her sister has kids. It's a different time zone. And it's awkward timing. And her sister is just sharing things like, well, we went shopping and the weather and oh, I'm busy right now. Can we talk? And Scarlett Johansson immediately picks up on the cue. She goes, yeah, okay, yeah. Like she masks it. She makes her voice go, yeah, okay, yeah. Oh, it's good. My trip is good. I'm in Japan right now. Oh, talk to you later. Okay, bye. And the quietness after she hangs up the phone. My work, and perhaps if you've stumbled upon this video, it's to explore, and it's for those of us who have attachment injuries, attachment wounds, and over time that could introduce very dysregulated sense of your nervous system when it has to do with getting your attachment needs met or being triggered when your attachment needs are not being met. So if you're like me and a number of other people who watch my videos, like you have some awareness of the struggle of attachment needs not being met. And those of us with some wounding around attachment, it's all because we were emotionally neglected in some way, developmentally over time, that maybe there's abandonment in your history. And it could be a whole range of different kinds of abandonment. It could be a subtle abandonment. It could be an obvious, overt abandonment. I love the phrase, we grieve what happened and we also grieve what didn't happen. The things that didn't happen could be what actually wounds us the most. That there wasn't presence, there wasn't attunement, there wasn't resonance, there wasn't an emotional joining with your inner world to show curiosity for who you are as a person. And then what this does to us is that we feel like who we are doesn't matter. You don't want to really be in relationship with me. I have history. I have data. I have proof that you weren't there for me. Whoever the other person is that we're talking about. In those moments, if you have history of what that's like to be emotionally ignored to the point where you're invisible and you don't matter, that's the experience of being alone in a very profound sense, in a place that's so important. It's in the context of relating, in the context of attachment. It is the place of joining for the safety of relationship. So many of us know in our body and we have memory, so we know our history, are these accumulative collective experiences where, yeah, I was alone. I've been alone. I have this image of, I was very fortunate. I had this really nice swing set. I mean, it was really, my father built it, and my father liked to do things a little bit in a grand way. And he sometimes kind of was ambitious, and he would do it a little bigger than necessary. So that's the swing set that I inherited as a kid. We just had this really very well built, magnificent. It was the kind of swing set that you'd see like on a school playground. It was like, it was substantial and big. But I can remember, like, perhaps it's like Sunday afternoons seem to be the worst, and in my memory it's like it's autumn or it's winter, it's cold out, and I'm sitting on the swing. And yes, this is a story of boredom. It was also experiencing what it's like to be bored as a kid. But there was more to it than boredom. It was this aloneness. And I can still conjure up that memory and that imagery and the awareness that there was no one to come out and sit with me next, on the next swing, on the swing set, and to take an interest in my interest, or to have an awareness or sensitivity of how lonely I was feeling sitting outside on that swing set. So, as an adult, if I'm sharing despair, if I'm sharing struggling with particular mental health challenge, and someone says to me, "Oh, well, you're not alone. Just remember, you're not alone." That's a kind of cognitive dissonance, and it's a bit of a bullshit experience, because it's trying to, I experience it as a kind of bullshit, because it's like the other person is trying to override the reality of a very palpable, visceral experience of aloneness. Think in terms of, if you have this, the memory I shared, the swing set memory, or some other memory where you can think of yourself as a child of a particular time when no one was there to help and no one showed up when you needed it. And if you're coming in to interact with that part of yourself in your current adult self, and you see this child self who's alone, you don't rush in and say, "I'm here. You're not alone." That's it's a way of denying and overriding the experience of the child's aloneness. And what I am suggesting and recommending, and to do this at any time, regardless if you're connecting with a memory of yourself as a child or when you're feeling alone, is to be able to affirm that experience and say, "I am." Other people might keep trying to like sugarcoat it or talk it away with some kind of Hallmark card sentiment. "You're not alone." No, I'm alone. And if I'm showing up as my current adult self, I want to connect with that fragile, younger part of myself that is feeling a bit hurt and isolated. If I can join him and I say, "I know you feel alone. I know that no one is here for you, are they?" And I say, "I sometimes also, still in my adult life, I know this feeling, this profound emptiness, this vast void, this expansive place that frightens me. And even as an adult, I can still feel it. And I'm going to join you in this place of aloneness, and we can be alone together. Do you feel the difference? Do you see the as a strategy, as an intervention? It's affirm reality as it is. Do not try to override and say, you're okay now. You're fine. You're okay. There's a false emptiness, and it creates a cognitive dissonance to impose a reality on to impose a false or aspirational reality over top of the real reality. And this is what's meant by sit with your discomfort. This is what is meant by saying, well, can you move into that experience? It doesn't mean that it feels good. It doesn't mean that it just goes away. It's not as simple as many would have us believe by saying, well, you're not alone. Now, there's a range here. When we hear you're not alone, what this also means is simultaneously the paradox as a human being. Yes, there's this existential aloneness, but there's also this existential interconnectedness that by right of existence, you're part of everything, the sunshine and the trees and the community and organizations and other people and families. And it's all woven together in this fabric of experience. And if you can realize that this level of despair, this level of depression, this level of aloneness is not unique to you, it's pretty universal. I can't imagine anybody who doesn't experience it. And so therefore, then that phrase, you're not alone, it's not necessarily challenging your experience of aloneness. What it's saying is, well, please remember that you are connected to a whole network of other people who equally simultaneously are struggling to make sense and meaning out of their suffering, and also are waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, staring out the window, staring at the ceiling, having heart palpitations, and just saying, like, I am so frightened in my life. What am I doing here? There's no one's coming to save me. No one's coming to save you. No one's coming to save us. This is it. This no safety net, this groundlessness. Now, what I'm talking about also, this is an intersection, the gateway of distraction, addiction, dysfunction, maladaptive behavior. To say, I cannot manage this. What is wrong? What is wrong with that? There's no way I can handle living in the intensity. For some of us, it feels like, well, I'm crawling out of my skin. For some of us, this place of aloneness is the place of the trauma. And so I cannot sit here and simultaneously activate my trauma symptoms and the hyperarousal, the intrusive thoughts, the emotional flashbacks, the memory, the discomfort. I cannot be in my skin. I am on fire. I got to get out of here. How do we get out of here? That's addiction. That's distraction. That's dysfunction. That's workaholism. That's entertainment. Let's just constantly keep dancing, going, moving, and make sure that we're not here. Are you here? I'm not here. Are you here? I'm not. I have this aloneness. It is so intense. Let's keep trying to pop out. And each time we do that, we're training ourselves not to be with ourselves. Don't connect to your inner world. Numb out, numb out, numb out. So to say, well, you're not alone. For some of us, what we need, and this is counterintuitive, and it's hard to hear, it's hard medicine, is, well, you are alone. And for me to say that to myself is saying, yeah, this is the place that's most difficult for me to live in. It is the place I doubt myself the most. It is the place that I create most stories and spin a narrative at my expense of my own sense of self. This is the place of shame and judging my decisions. And it's what we would call this implosion. My sense of self is imploding. The image of like scaffold around a building, scaffolding, and if it just a house of cards, it just collapses on itself. And if you're triggered, if you have a fragile sense of self, something can happen in your day. It happens at work. Your partner says it. Your mom says it. Your neighbor says something, and you collapse into yourself. And then there's a range of things that you might feel or happen or thoughts that come in, but one of those is that really difficult, uncomfortable, here I go again, I'm alone again. We're trying to practice naming reality as it is and not need to manipulate the reality so it feels good. And for me, I find often it is a bit of an empty thing to say. Maybe it's intended at times to be helpful, but I also think it's a bit lazy to jump so quickly to say, well, you're not alone, or it's going to get better. Part a big, for me, it's not part, it is a big part of our maturing. And that's what healing is. Healing is this being able to work with suffering, being able to work with the impossible, knowing that you're teetering on the edge of a particular, a precarious place where you don't know if you're really going to be able to manage these feelings, these choices, the fear, the terror of the fear that lives underneath your feet. Am I going to be gobbled up? So this approach of what I'm talking about, it's not so much that your aloneness is going away. We don't just get rid of it by saying you're not alone. What we're practicing is changing the way we're in relationship to that same experience, to get to know your inner world, get to know the vast, empty openness, get to know the unknown of who you are, get to know what it's like to stay present even when that internal scaffold of a sense of self implodes on itself and making your sense of identity scrambled or insecure, or that you doubt who you are or you shame yourself. And just like that child on the swing, or you have some memory of yourself in a room or somewhere, you're at school, in grade school, and you're alone, to be able to imagine you show up in your current adult self and you sit right next to that child. And you don't lie to the child by saying you're not alone. You say, I know how you feel. You feel alone right now, and I feel it too. And I'm going to sit here and keep you company like no one else did. And we get to be alone together. And I'm going to hold it for you. I'm going to practice holding this because no one else helped you make sense of the intensity, the magnitude, the giantness of this kind of alone feeling. And we are going to practice feeling it together. And in this, you are alone and I'm alone. And we don't have to lose our mind in this place. We don't have to lie to ourselves that we're not alone. It's okay. We're learning how to stay present and to be here even when we feel alone. I hope that this video is helpful. I didn't share with you, if you don't know who I am, I'm Alan Robarge, an attachment-focused psychotherapist and a relationship educator. And in addition to talking about being alone, I like to talk about attachment injuries. And I work with people who feel that when a relationship ends, they die. Or even before a relationship ends, they start to wilt, or they feel like they lose their sense of self. And if a relationship ends, we often feel shattered by heartbreak. And so then our work is to sift through the pieces of being shattered and try to figure out, well, how can we put ourselves back together anew? How do we strengthen, discover a stronger sense of self? It's a grief teaches us about who we are. If you like this video, please do all of the things, and you know what that is. It's click like, hit subscribe, please comment, share this video with other people. More videos on the way. The last message is the message of this video. I offer both. We practice, both exist. You're alone, I know, and you're not alone. That's true too. And you're alone, right? And it's this rhythm, and they coexist. You're alone. You're not alone. And thank you for listening.